Welcome to the as yet untitled Adam Savage project.
Still.
Yeah, we're still soliciting names. I think we'll find it.
It might end up being called the officially Untitled.
Yes. Or Untitled. The
Untitled.
official Adam Savage project. I don't know. We'll figure something out. I'm Will Smith. Adam is here, of course, as always.
Hello.
Norman Chan joining us, wearing his favorite Avengers t-shirt today.
I really love
That's
this.
my favorite Avengers
It's
t-shirt.
really
too.
great. It's an 8-bit t-shirt. And I got this actually as a second shirt in this theme. There was a video game that came out earlier this year called Sword and Sorcery, which has this 8-bit aesthetic that's stretched out, lanky 8-bit characters.
Yeah.
And I have this other shirt that's the Star Wars shirt. So it's Star Wars bounty hunters in this same motif. Wow. And I got that one, and I saw this one, and I had to have it.
I like that it looks like Thor has teats.
Oh, yeah.
Well-
It's the shiny parts of his armor.
You know,
I know, but
that's
that's-
that's 80s interpretation of Nordic armor
I know. And
in a
Iron Man-
modern take.
And this also looks like Iron Man. This looks like Halloween at the old folks' home.
Yeah.
Iron
Oh,
Man.
they're all kind of like the lankiness
Yeah.
really sells it. They're kind of all kind of tall.
well, except for
and-
Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk
It's chubby, lanky Hulk. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
The Iron Man especially just says to me like the kind of plastic bag costume you used to get at the drugstore
They're-
when your parents didn't want to build a custom costume for you.
I remember getting the costume Jaws. And it
From-
was a shark head and then the movie poster.
Oh, that's
as a
terrible.
vinyl
Oh, that's so
coveralls.
bad.
I loved it. I was super psyched. It was like 1977, so I was
Wait,
10 years old.
So you had the movie poster as the body to let people know you are the shark from
exactly.
Jaws.
And you're looking at through two holes in the vacuum formed shark
that is a
face.
classic, a 70s costume. Yeah.
I know it's dated, but I want to say I have this new special feeling for Hulk since seeing Avengers finally. I think they finally got the Hulk.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The Loki smashing, the punching Thor in the face just out of nowhere. It's such a humorous.
More
Hulk
so
take.
than just the Hulk character, it was the Bruce Banner character that they got.
It was.
Yeah.
And so just briefly, I was really gobsmacked by how brilliant Whedon was in realizing that the central kind of the pivotal relationship was Tony Stark revealing to Bruce Banner, I know about demons and I know how to let them out.
They're smart dudes that totally get along.
So great.
They didn't, I mean, even if they weren't in the same universe, they are parallels to each other. And
Yeah.
the fact that you get them both in the room, not just Hulk and Iron Man, but Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, and they're the bros of the movie.
Yeah.
They have. When the movie ends, and I don't want to spoil too much of the ending, they all survive, of course. Tony Stark.
I've been going in cold.
All the Avengers go off in their separate ways, literally, and it is Bruce Banner who rides off with Tony Stark in his fancy Audi, or his fancy Acura, and they drive off. And you just imagine them going back to Tony Stark's lab and just having their own adventures.
Yeah.
because
I would watch that TV show.
I would totally
and it is surprising.
like some of the internet videos they did from Lost, where you got to see some scenes that they didn't show on the show,
Yeah.
like Hurley being number one with what's his name being his number two,
with Ben.
with Ben being his number two.
Yes, that is a great buddy show. And they actually released that was the after Lost came out, the epilogue of, they have their history, which they allude to at the end of the show.
Wonderful.
And they are so different, but they redeem each other.
So did you get the thing when they're on the helicarrier and Hulk flips out when they're all arguing in the room? Did you understand? Norm had to explain that to me after I watched the
Wait,
movie.
okay, tell me again.
So basically, the entire Avengers team is on the helicarrier.
Yes.
They're in the room with the staff, with Loki's staff,
right.
and all of a sudden they all just start yelling at each other, and then the Hulk goes berserk.
I
and
got that Loki had engineered that.
Yes.
Yeah, the staff apparently.
And
I didn't
that
understand.
reveal of let go of the staff was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. He needs something to grab onto. And literally the camera it goes from back to back to when they're arguing.
Yeah.
It's very heated. But then the camera also flips upside down. Their world is literally being turned upside down. It's very...
I totally got it the second time.
Yeah.
Like once you had pointed it out, I was like, oh, okay. Now because I didn't understand why it seemed like Banner had control over it, and then he didn't, and then he did again, and
That was something that I really liked about Black Widow's character. Take someone who basically is shooting guns while everyone has a superpower and give her one, which is being able to read people that well. And
Being a
as
secret
nice
agent, being a super spy,
being a super spy,
not just the ingenue,
Totally.
but, yeah, and also same with Hawkeye, guy with a bow and arrow. It's the year of the bow. So Brave has a bow.
Yeah.
Hawkeye has a bow. Hunger Games.
I've got a couple of bows in the corner there.
Absolutely, bows are very favorable.
Yeah.
But Hawkeye was the coordinator. They established, he's in this nest in the beginning of the movie. He's the hawk.
Yeah.
So he led everyone during the battle.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
So good.
I didn't realize that we were going to talk about the Avengers.
I'm sorry. It was my derail.
Oh no! Let's
Let's
tangent into another conversation. I want to talk about TV.
Do you really?
Well,
know?
Adam, you're on TV.
I am on TV.
You make TV a lot, so I don't know, what do you watch?
I am an unabashed TV lover.
Okay, great. Not just movies, but TV as well.
Actually, I end up over the last few years watching mostly TV. My wife and I watch a ton of it. It's a relative term. In fact, our lives are really quite busy. I have twin 13-year-old boys and shoot the show all the time. I travel 100,000 miles a year without even trying, it would seem. But we watch a lot of great stuff. We watch a lot of trash.
Oh,
Do you watch America's Got Talent?
What's that?
Let's talk about trash. 'Cause that's
okay. I'll say trash. We've seen a ton of the Real Housewives of all the different ones.
Oh, that's real. That's
Yay.
real low.
Oh no, I'm talking. We go low.
I don't even go that low.
No.
That's.
I met Jill Zarin and I tweeted it, and most of my Twitter followers were like, "Who is that?"
Who is that?
And I'm like, "It's Jill Zarin."
Yeah, I have no idea.
No, we've been watching Game of Thrones. We were avid Lost watchers. We actually have a party every Sunday night whenever Mad Men is in season, and that is actually. I got to meet Matt Weiner a few months ago, and I told him, I was like, I have to tell you, yours is the only show that I actually know when it airs, and what network it's on, because I don't watch anything else
live
when it's airing.
Thanks,
So
Steve.
Mad Men, we make the time because it's so
Oh,
important.
that's awesome.
There's another show right now that is super important. It's totally bizarre and it's from left field. Have you guys been watching Girls?
Okay, now you say this, and I'm going to spoil the backstory.
Yeah.
Because you said this a minute ago, and both of us kind of looked at each other sheepishly, and we're like, yeah, we're totally watching Girls. Of course we're watching Girls.
But what did take us back is when you said it's one of the most important shows.
So I think of important shows. I use that word to mean something where there's complicated choices being made from a writing, directing, and acting standpoint.
Yes.
That's very cool.
And I am very interested when I see my favorite actors are the ones that do things I don't expect. My favorite writers, the same thing. Directors, the same thing. And I know about a little of the history of the girl whose show it is.
Yes, it's Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham.
So to give people a refresher who might not have heard of the show,
She did
Girls,
Tiny Furniture, right?
Yes, Lena Dunham was an independent filmmaker who made this movie, Tiny Furniture,
With her
2
sister
years
and her
ago.
mom shot in her house, right?
Exactly, and it was very raw. Like it was unabashed. It was very brutal and honest and clever writing. And it won, I think, an award at Cannes.
Okay.
Like a popularity award or something.
So I heard about this film, and then I also read. Among the blogs I read, I check out the D-List and the Superficial. I find their writing from two different standpoints, both hilarious.
Yes.
Actually, the D-List is a genius.
I've never read the D-List, but I used to read Superficial fairly regularly.
D-List is genuinely mean and cruel,
Wow.
but also brilliant.
okay.
So get ready, because you'll feel dirty after reading it.
Like you have to really work and put a lot of thought into it to be as genuinely awful.
It's mean. It's genuinely mean.
Okay.
But you wanted to keep up with what's going on in that celebrity culture.
And he loves Girls and recaps the episodes. And I just noted that like he almost doesn't ever talk about television with this kind of fervor. And then it was on one night, and it was the episode where her boyfriend texts her a picture of his dick.
Yes,
And then
that episode
texts her
4.
right back afterwards and said, "Sorry, that wasn't meant for you."
Yeah.
And then her response is to take off her shirt and sext him right back. And I thought, okay, first of all, two things got me. One was that's far out from a writing standpoint, right?
Yeah.
The 20-year-old submitting themselves to humiliation like we all did.
Yeah. Stupid choices.
On
made
camera.
public.
choices.
I mean, she writes the episodes.
Right.
And she plays the main character, Lena Dunham.
But the second thing that I find also important, and this is the other reason I use that word, is that she's got a real body.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, none of those girls, they're all beautiful. And they all have real bodies. They're not painfully thin. I'm so happy to see a show that has that message. Like the world needs more of that right now.
And it's not Game of it isn't it's the exact opposite of Game of Thrones, right?
But you only make that comparison because they're both on HBO.
They're both on HBO.
So I've been told by so many people, even like writers
Girls, it's not Game of Thrones.
You didn't have to worry. No one was worried about that. But I mean, a good friend of mine who's a great writer said, give Game of Thrones a chance. I'm halfway through and I'm like, it's Lord of the Rings with tits. And he's like, no. By the end of season 1, it gets great and it gets complex and really good.
But then it immediately goes, well, anyway, different conversation for different day.
Okay.
It immediately gets bad after it becomes just soap
I will
opera after
catch
that.
up and I will see. I will.
So the show, it's 10 episodes, just finished its first season. And the idea, it was Lena Dunham's, it's her whole idea. And she writes these 4 characters. A lot of people have called it the Sex and the City of the modern era.
Yeah.
It's really about, girls, women in their early 20s who are trying to figure out who they want to be. And they're all, kind of middle class, upper class Caucasian women in New York. So it is one perspective.
There is a superficial connection to Sex and the City.
Yes.
But Sex and the City I love Sex and the City. My wife and I, we watched them all. I think it's a great show and very enjoyable and terrific writing. Mm-hmm. But there's just no parity between these two things. I mean, what they're doing is they're making Lena Dunham's written a comedy that ends up getting really, really dark.
Well, it's dark and poignant.
And poignant and honest.
As guys, I can't relate to these girls, but I know I have many female friends who watch it either. When girls used to watch Tina Fey on 30 Rock and say, "Oh, I am Tina Fey. That is my life." But then they kind of turn Tina Fey into a caricature, a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like so many of my friends are watching girls now and saying, "I can relate to these." Insecurity issues and these relationship problems.
I'm just so happy to see something that brings up the insecurities and brings out, it's very out there. It's very adult. There's lots of nudity. There's lots of sex, which are both fine things to have.
At one point, one of the characters accidentally smokes crack. And the repercussions of this, it is such a fantastic sequence because it's intercut with this whole other, the B story that goes along with that. They go to this big party out and you're just like, how does this girl accidentally smoke crack? She's so sheltered. She's living in New York, and New York is a scary place. When you're 20 years old,
that's when I was there. I spent from 18 to 23 in New York. And so, there's a way. I love this show. I want it to be renewed.
It's funny. It is renewed. There is a second season.
Great.
Excellent. And it's funny. It is funny.
And it's genuinely hilarious.
Yeah, sometimes you have to watch it as entertainment first. And the fact that it can be entertaining, but also have a hint of truth in it, and obviously written from a very personal perspective, so with some honesty and from personal experiences.
Painfully personal.
That brings you closer. And if you listen to any of the interviews that Lena Dunham has done on Colbert Report, and Fresh Air, she's wonderful.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Warms my heart.
You look back at that time as the time when you could make the best mistakes in the most explosive, horrible way ever. And I think about how fucked I would be if they had Facebook then.
Oh, well, yes, number one.
There was no permanent record when I was 20. Thank God.
Did you see that? I think it's on Reddit. The post on Reddit where the guy says to his dad, "I'm writing a report. How do I stop cyberbullying?" And his dad slams the laptop shut and says, "Problem fucking solved."
It's true.
But sorry, so going back to that age and all the terrible mistakes we made and all the ways we, betrayed our friends and screwed up and stuff. I'm looking at my kids now. They're 13. And I can now really start to see the arc of them at 20. And I'm like, how is it possible they let people only 3 years older than these boys drive cars?
Yeah.
How is it remotely reasonable that they can vote at 18? We're babies.
You can vote and shoot a gun and own a gun.
Yeah. And
you can't own a gun until you're 21.
Really?
Depends on the state.
It does depend on the state.
Arizona, 15. Boom.
Really?
In Tennessee, it was really young too for rifles and shotguns. But the upshot is the thing about Sex and the City was in the first season, I felt like it was a really honest kind of. It resonated much more with me as a guy watching TV because obviously guys watching TV need more programming. It resonated much more with me because it seemed much more honest, and then it kind of became a character about these 4 women who had ridiculous lives, and one of them ends up with $500 million worth of shoes in her closet, and it kind of became a parody of itself almost. This is diametrically opposite that because it's very the challenge of being out in the world and dealing with the ability to have sex with whoever you want whenever you want it and skive off work and go get drunk in the middle of the day and go to a party and accidentally smoke crack are all
Yeah.
like made me really glad I'm not 20 anymore. I also kind of miss it at the same time.
I also want to make just the little caveat that I think Sex and the City got to some great drama at many, many points in the show, even though the second movie should be removed from the canon.
I didn't see that.
It is. You actually should see it because it's Plan 9 from outer space terrible.
Wow, really?
No, I mean, it is, you will watch it and you'll be like, I want to call a whole category of things Ewok terrible.
Oh, wow.
Well, like, did anyone paying attention to any part of this at some point say maybe we shouldn't?
It's all for the merchandising opportunities.
I mean, right? was that it? Did Dubai just pay them an unbelievable amount of money and say, "Hey, come here, come to us"? I have
no idea, but it is the movie. There's this protracted scene where Charlotte is complaining about having a child. She's wanted a child for the whole arc of the series.
Yeah.
She's got a child, and she gets mad at the child because the child cries and having a kid is a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
And so she's crying about it with Miranda, and at a certain point they're like, "Wow, yeah," and it is tough. It's okay, and they hug, and then she says, "And I have full-time help." What do people do who don't have that? And then they clink their glasses, and I think, oh my God, I want a camera to pull back and see them on the bodies of people making them comfortable, right? It's like, I'm using humans as a chair.
This is a sea of human blood underneath, keeping them young.
I'm going to loop this back, and I want to talk about TV shows again.
Yes,
so you go back to the Avengers.
We'll get back to there, but you watch TV shows at home with your wife and your children. What are the shows that you let your kids watch, or that you want your kids to watch?
Oh man, that's a tough one, especially at 13.
Well, let's rephrase this. What are the shows that are you collecting to slowly give to your kids?
Well, so
when they're ready for it.
We have done this about 4 years ago. We introduced them to Buffy. And we watched it with them.
Had you watched it before?
I came into Buffy around what did Buffy do? 7 seasons?
7 seasons.
Okay, I came in through around season 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then was religious about it. And then with my wife, we went and watched it from the beginning. I hadn't seen the whole angel killing Jenny Calendar scene, which was just the most upsetting, brutal thing I've ever seen. I watched it in sort of bass backwards, but we introduced the boys to it, and they sat and watched the whole thing,
awesome.
And we watched it. They've actually sat and watched all of Sports Night with us, which is Aaron Sorkin's first show, and super important and great piece of television. There are right now we battle with the fact that like they watch Family Guy, which I think is a great show, but it turns my kids into assholes. Well, like I just think
Norm's gonna go
same
off.
with South Park.
Yes,
I think I like South Park more than Family Guy, but if you're not, I mean, you can appreciate it more. I appreciate it more than I like it.
And there's a way in which both of my kids have had. How do I put this? South Guy, and Family Park.
It's crossover.
Family Guy, South Park and Family Guy both make very sketchy jokes from a standpoint of, we should call it sort of a cultural enlightenment. I can make fun of everybody because I really don't give a shit what color you are or sex you are, right? And that is a tough comic read for children. And both of my kids have made really inappropriate jokes at terrible times.
They see it at face level and don't see the subversiveness underneath.
And but you don't get to make the joke about this thing unless you really understand the history and you really understand the company you're in. Because
it's also,
and you have a reputation of doing it for the last 20 years.
Right.
I mean, that reputation gives you the pass when you're being 14 or 13.
Now, on the other hand, the other show that's killing me how brilliant it is Workaholics.
I haven't seen that.
Okay, that's the assignment. We should go. You guys should watch it, and we should come back and talk about it because I love that show, and it's really, really. It's about 3
it's a Comedy Central show.
What?
It's a Comedy Central show.
Comedy Central show. So it's about these 3 dudes who work in some crappy office, and they do lots of drugs, and they drink a lot, and they trip on psychedelics.
It's like Clerks in the Office Space.
Yes, and
slackers.
And the 3 guys that are in it write it. They created it, and they're brilliant. I mean, they're all brilliant. It's really, really funny. And one of my kids just can't get enough of this show. And I'm thinking, okay, I think he's just at the age where he can actually take some of this drug positive message and understand how to parse it. Because I have repeatedly told them, I know you live in San Francisco. Someone's going to offer you something and you're just too damn young.
Yeah.
You are too damn young. And I'm not willing to talk about when you're old enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because your brain is too plastic at this point, and it's really important to me. At the same time, I grew up and I remember my parents never saying it was bad or good, but getting from them that there was a kind of a nuanced approach to it, let's say.
See, I grew up in the time of Dare, where the policeman came to the school with samples of everything to show you what it looked like, so you'd know what you were buying. I mean, it was the most poorly conceived federally funded program ever, and that's really saying something because, like, all it did was tell you that, oh, okay, these drugs are probably not going to do permanent damage to you, and stay away from needle drugs.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a minefield with that kind of thing, because that's all that they want to watch is the really dark and sketchy stuff, which I appreciate. I remember wanting to see that too.
Now they will appreciate it more if you give them the cool stuff to watch. Their friends aren't watching, and they can open their friends up.
Gary TV is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're both pretty good about it. There's one episode of Workaholics that ends with one of the minor characters humping a Michelle Obama lookalike at a party. That's it. I'll give you that one. And my son turns to me and he goes, I had just walked in, sat down, saw this 5 minutes in, and he goes, I don't think we should watch this show.
What it really means, shouldn't watch it with you.
I'm uncomfortable, Dad.
Exactly.
So I guess that'll do it for today on TV Talk.
Talk.
Workaholics is your homework.
Workaholics is our homework.
I will watch that.
We got the spectrum of Sex and the City girls and Buffy.
and
a little bit of Avengers in there too.
Buffy's.
I never watched. So I don't watch much TV. It turns out I didn't watch Lost. I never watched Buffy. Well, I watched a couple episodes of Buffy here and there, but I think you kind of have to get in.
No. Buffy's again super important. Yeah.
Okay.
And also everything you love about Avengers. Was workshopped on Buffy. Yes. All of that way. I realized it was actually through watching Buffy. I've watched the whole series now twice, which is a lot of hours.
That's a lot of TV.
But there's my wife and I, when we get on a JAG, we'll watch 3 or 4. When we did Battlestar Galactica, we were like, we came in really late before the final season. We watched the entire 4 seasons leading up to the last season in 2 months flat. And at one point I was like, I got to go to bed. And my wife was like, you need to nut up and do some heavy lifting because I can't get ahead of you.
There's a Portlandia. This is a Portlandia skit.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I'll dig up the link and send it to you.
Okay, but wait. Oh, so the Joss Whedon thing, the Buffy thing is that I realized that all of my favorite writers, people like Whedon and Raymond Chandler, Elmore Leonard, they really... They write characters that not only that they love, but that they really would just love to have be their friends.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone on Buffy is just such a great, rounded, developed person. And you really just fall in love with them and what they do and how they fail. And it really
in Joss Whedon's case, those are his friends.
Yes.
So he's writing for them.
And that's what he did with the Avengers too. I mean, when Tony Stark and Bruce Banner drive off at the end of the movie, you want to go with them.
Yeah. You totally
more
do.
than anything else. I don't want to go with Thor.
Yeah.
I don't want to go with Black Widow and Hawkeye. I want to get in the car with Bruce Banner and Tony Stark.
We can't let Joss Whedon off the hook for everything. He's great, but he did write Aliens 4.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He did write Aliens Resurrection.
Right. Okay.
Like J.J. Abrams wrote Armageddon. Everyone
Lindelof wrote
Prometheus. So everyone has their moments.
Armageddon's real dumb, but I like Armageddon.
I love Armageddon.
Yeah. I mean,
I do cry at the end.
Super duper dumb.
When he goes,
I love you, man, and he's banging on the window.
When it's not Gary Sinise, but when he says, "I want to shake the hand of the daughter of the bravest man I ever met."
Armageddon is terrific pulp.
And it came out in a year that there were 2 movies about asteroids hitting the Earth. That will never happen again. It was the best year ever.
Wait, what was the other one again?
Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. Oh,
that's the one where Tia Leone stands on the beach with her father as the giant tidal wave wipes out New England.
God, right. And we have the black president of that one.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
The most presidential guy on Earth, it turns out.
I feel like we're rolling into another episode. So.
Wait. Here, I've got a great way to finish this.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Armageddon.
Armageddon who?
Armageddon out of here.
Oh. We'll be back next week.
We have to finish it at that.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.